Gigabyte sent over their Z270X-Gaming K5. It's a pretty awesome sort of mid-tier level motherboard, so yeah, let's take a look at it. Now the box is fairly standard for the Aorus kind of Gigabyte lineup of motherboards, obviously very heavy on the Aorus branding on the front, and on the back you have the new features, so stuff like RGB Fusion, SmartFan 5, the killer E2500 Ethernets, and all the usual bits and pieces as well. The motherboard is relatively stylish. It's not personally my favourite and the prettiest motherboard on the market, but you still do get a rear IO shield sort of cover type thing, which does make the board look a little bit more sort of modern as such, as that's definitely a trend we've been seeing over the last few generations of boards. Also, you do have lots of RGB elements, including in those reinforced RAM slots, which again are just a bit weird for me, but either way you do still have that style advantage with the LEDs in the RAM, and overall just when you do plug in the board and get it all set up, it is a very well lit experience. Of course you do have the LEDs to separate the audio section as well and that sort of thing, so again a very nice overall style. Speaking of audio, you do have that amp up audio section down the bottom corner with obviously the high quality capacitors. You also have the split PCB, which has been there for a couple generations, as well as the removable op amp, which again is sort of for customizing your sound signature to how you like, which again has been there for a couple generations. You also along the bottom have a trusted partner module or TPM connector, so if you need to do secure computing, or I believe Hackintoshes like to have those, then that is there for you. You also have the usual stuff, as well as a few new things, so the LED C connector, or basically RGBW LED header, so if you want to plug in some LEDs and use RGB Fusion to sync the lights in your case to the lights on the board, you can do that. On the right hand side you of course have the 24-pin power connector. You also have two USB 3.0 front panel headers. There's no USB 3.1 header on the board, obviously in this generation. Perhaps in a future one there will be, but just be aware if you are buying a case, which I believe is fairly rare at the time of filming anyway, that has a front panel USB 3.1 header, then you will need to adapt that to USB 3.0 instead, so that is just something to be aware of. A little bit further down from that you also have the U.2 connector, as well as the 3 SATA Express ports, which can also be used as 6 normal SATA ports. In the middle of the board you have an M.2 slot, as well as a reinforced PCI slot, which is your full X16 lane, and you do also have 2 other X16 sized lanes below that, as well as another M.2 slot if you want to do some RAID with M.2 drives, as well as obviously SLI or Crossfire with those reinforced PCI slots. Just as a note for your cooling needs, you do have 5 4-pin fan connectors that are all SmartFan 5 headers, so if you want to control them independently or you want to use them in 3-pin mode or 4-pin mode, that is all available with the 5 headers that are on the board. The rear I/O is a nice setup of connections. You have 4 USB 2.0 ports, 2 of them are the DAC up 2 connections. You also have DisplayPort and HDMI and USB Type-C Gen 2. You also have USB 3.1 Gen 2 and USB 3.1 Gen 1, which does get a bit complicated. You also have a nice audio setup, including 7.1 surround and an SPDIF connector. The board's BIOS is very similar to the Ultra Gaming and the Gaming 7 boards that we've already checked out, so it's nothing too massively different here, but either way it is still quite nice. It's very easy to overclock with. The settings are still kind of buried in a couple of different options and menus, so it would be nice to see those in one more sort of standard overclocking menu, but either way it is still, as I said, very nice to overclock on. This one was easily hitting I believe 4.8 gigahertz on the 7700K that I have here, and that wasn't pushing it at all. It was just, you know, making sure that it all actually works, so that is a very nice option. And if you are planning on lightly overclocking one of your chips, then this is still a very good board to do it with. Of course, otherwise the BIOS is nicely laid out enough. It's, as I said, not the nicest and most easy to use. Personally, I still think MSI holds that title for me, but it is still perfectly functional. It's nice and detailed and very easy for overclocking. I think for me this board comes in at a quite nice price point. It's not too rich for most people's blood, has a lot of features that you would expect from a relatively high-end motherboard, but doesn't have such a high price tag that most people couldn't afford it if they were looking for a Z270 build. For me, the ability to overclock on this as easy as you can is really nice, and of course having the features like RAIDing M.2 SSDs or USB 3.1 Gen 2, that sort of stuff is normally, you know, reserved for the higher end boards, so to have this on a more mid-tier board is certainly a nice feature, and overall I do relatively recommend it. It's quite a nice overall board, and I don't see anything too wrong with it, so yeah, I guess that's that really. I think in terms of scoring, I'm going to go with a 4.5 for value for money. I think in terms of performance it has to be a 5. Functionality, I'm going to go with, I think, a 4.5. Styling, I'm going to go with, for me, a 4, and a TechteamGB score of I think a 4.5 on a Gold Award. It's an awesome motherboard, and if you're looking for a relatively good value, you can't quite afford to splash out on a Gaming 7 or an M7 or something like that, then this is certainly a good shout, and I do overall recommend it. So I guess that's kind of that, really. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to check out some of the other ones that I'm going to leave over here. Of course, if you want to check the motherboard out, I'll leave a couple of links in the description down below for you to check out. If you're buying anything else, by the way, please do use the Overclock UK or Amazon affiliate links in the description down below. It genuinely helps me out, it supports the channel, it supports these videos and all that sort of stuff. So if you could use them, they're free, you just have to click on them before you buy stuff. So if you do that, that would be absolutely amazing. And of course, feel free to share the video if you enjoyed it as well, whether that's on Reddit or tech forums or Facebook, anything helps. Otherwise, feel free to subscribe, like and all that sort of stuff. As I said, check out some of the other videos I'm going to leave over the PC and over the board for you. Of course, the subscribe button will be over here, and yeah, otherwise feel free to hit me up on Facebook and Twitter at TechteamGB on both, and yeah, we'll see you all in the next video.